In a world of ordinary fantasy football podcasts, ordinary guys rise up to bring you extraordinary analysis and entertainment. This is the Falafel House Fantasy Football Podcast with your hosts Kevin Cotillo, Sal Lito, and Stephen Marcus.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Today is Sunday, November 6th, and this is the Falafel House Fantasy Football Podcast. I have but one host with me tonight, and I'm sure he's very sad because his favorite co-host is not here. What's going on, Steve?
Oh, not a whole lot. You're right. I am feeling a little lonely tonight. Sal has decided to leave. He just didn't feel like podcasting tonight, I think, is what's going on.
Oh, is that it?
I think so.
Is it me? Was it something I said?
Actually, I wasn't supposed to tell you this, but yes, he hates you.
Oh, that's actually not news. We discussed that. We discussed that at great length when you weren't around, actually.
Actually, I do think he makes it a point to say that to you at least once daily, and vice versa.
Yeah, absolutely. We're pretty open about that, and I actually that's the one thing I appreciate about Sal is that we can be so open with our hatred.
Yeah, he does not sugarcoat anything.
No.
Good stuff.
I mean, it's it's that whole Boston, New York thing. It kind of translates over. It's generally our personalities just don't mesh. So.
Yep.
But I'm glad to have you here.
It is.
I'm glad to have you here tonight on this lovely Sunday evening after numerous games. The so-called, as many have said, bipocalypse is finally coming to a close. All the bye weeks are, obviously we still have bye weeks for another couple of weeks, but there will be nothing like the last 2 weeks where we had, 6 teams on bye each week?
Yep. Yeah, it's been pretty rough, and especially this week. A lot of really strong fantasy options off the board with the Patriots, the Cardinals, and the Bengals not playing. So, it's been a struggle for sure. Although I've actually had a pretty stellar week, so I'm not going to be complaining too much. But good to have all those guys back going forward.
So by stellar week, you mean you might win in falafel, and we can stop the madness?
Yeah, I don't want I'm not going to say anything too soon because the way things have been going in that league, I will be crapped on tomorrow night. But so far so good, and just all around, I've got to look outside of only falafel sometimes with how bad it's been. And it's just been good week all around. We should mention where Sal is since he's not here. He is currently probably on Splash Mountain enjoying Disney World because he is a child.
Yes, he is a child. And it's weird that, when he said he was going to Disney World, I figured he meant with his family, but just by himself, that's weird.
That was weird. He's sending all these pictures with these other kids.
Yeah,
and
we're not sure who they are. Just
hanging out with other families, just chilling.
It's very strange.
It was weird. So, Sal, I hope you're having fun in Disney World. I'm a little jealous, but, it is what it is.
Yeah, I agree. I am jealous. So Sal won't be with us for a couple of shows. I'm not sure when he will be back, but at the very latest, he will be back by next Sunday because I will be gone next Sunday. So then you two can have your love fest, and I'm sure it'll be lovely. In the meantime, I am Kevin Cotillo. I am your other co-host. You can follow the show on Twitter at Falafel House. You can follow Steve on Twitter as at Sid Skeet. You can also follow Steve in the Fantasy Life app as at Sid Skeet. And you can follow me in both Twitter and the Fantasy Life app as at Wally Central. If you want to check out Sal's creepy Disney World pictures with some other kids, you can do that. He is at Lido Sal on Twitter, and you can give him hell on the Fantasy Life app as at Sal33. He is definitely going to be checking in there on a regular basis, so make sure you give him some crap about being alone with weird children or being weird with children alone. I don't know how to say that, but it's all around weird.
The children might be weird as well.
I'm sure they are.
We don't know that they're not.
If they're hanging out with Sal, they're definitely weird.
That's a fact.
For now, let's get into some football. There was a lot happening today, or a lot not happening if you watched the first game we're going to talk about, because I'm going to start tonight off with the Steelers and the Ravens. This was ugly.
It really was.
It was really, really ugly, especially for someone who was, for me, like me, who was so excited that Roethlisberger was actually starting this game. And I guess I probably should have tempered expectations, but given that he is just coming off an injury, and he's historically has not, I think they even said in the broadcast, historically does not play well coming off an injury. Hopefully better days are ahead. He was 23 for 45 with 264 and a touchdown. He did throw one interception, and he did run in another touchdown, so that helped a lot. That came late, but the Steelers lose to the Ravens 21-14. Obviously, Roethlisberger, the story here. I don't think Antonio Brown had a catch until almost the end of the second quarter. He did finish the day with 7 for 85 and a touchdown on 11 targets, so he helped you out there, but it's not your typical Antonio Brown day, especially when you're looking at a Ravens defense that just has not been good this year. This should have been fantasy gold for the Steelers, but it was just not. So Lev Bell, another surprising casualty of the Pittsburgh Steelers offense, I guess you could say. 14 for 32, no touchdowns. He was in the passing game a little bit, 6 for 38. Again, no touchdowns. So when you see Lev Bell go for under 100 yards and no touchdowns, that's a tough day, just all around.
Yep.
I think Eli Rogers is the big story on the Pittsburgh side of the ball because, 6 catches, 103 yards. He had 10 targets. Hayward Bay goes out early with a ankle-foot injury, and we saw Rogers just kind of step up, and he was sort of Ben's go-to guy here. I don't know. Anything what was wrong with the Steelers, Steve?
I think just a few things. I think Ben Roethlisberger coming back off this injury definitely looked a little rusty. And, I mean, it's insane. Ben Roethlisberger, always beating his medical timetables of when he's supposed to return, just had knee surgery 20 days ago, and he's rushing for touchdowns.
Yeah.
And, the guy is incredible when it comes to that type of stuff. But you're right, he did not look like himself. I think it's one of those better days ahead scenarios. Ravens always play the Steelers tough. I actually picked the Ravens to cover in this game, so I'm not too surprised at the outcome, but I am surprised at how bad that the Steelers looked on offense. You think with all the playmakers that they have that at least one of those guys would be okay. And Sammy Coates had 0 points. He dropped a touchdown pass that would have made up for that a little bit. But for the Ravens,
tonight. 0 for
what
5
was that?
tonight. He was 0 for 5 tonight.
Brutal.
Yeah.
Brutal. So not like what he did. Mike Wallace, he did catch the ball, and he ran a long ways after he did.
Yes,
he had
did.
a 95-yard touchdown.
He's still fast.
Super fast. I mean, he was running away from those guys. So it was he was impressive for the Ravens. Not a huge offensive day for any other guy. I mean, that 95-yard touchdown was huge for Wallace. He only had 30 yards other than that. So just better days ahead for the Steelers offense, and you hope that Big Ben didn't hurt himself running for that touchdown, and he's better going forward.
Yeah, I agree. Hopefully, I think he'll look better. I mean, he didn't show any ill effects after the game. I haven't seen any reports come out that he was sore or anything like that. I'm sure he'll be sore, but hopefully he will come through unscathed, and they will pick it up. If for any of you are starting Flacco had another Flacco day, 18 of 30, 241 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick, so nothing really from a fantasy standpoint. He's just such an average quarterback. He's so average. I think I would hate if he was my starting quarterback on my team. He's just boring.
Yeah, he never seems to be consistent. That's the worst thing about him. Every time you think you can trust him, he goes out and he starts throwing balls over receivers' heads or throwing balls short. And then as soon as you give up on him, he'll have a game where it's like, oh, this guy actually does know how to play football. So, yeah, you're absolutely right. He's one of the more frustrating guys to play the position. That's for sure.
On the running back side for the Ravens, should have been a pretty good day for West. Pittsburgh has been fairly bad against the run this year, and he only puts up 15. He gets 15 carries for 21 yards. Kenneth Dixon also gets 9 carries in this one, and he only gets 13 yards. So not a good day for any of them. But it was interesting to see Dixon get the 9 carries. That's that number is creeping up from where it was. I don't know if this was just because West was ineffective or because they're starting to try to make that transition, but Baltimore won't go away because they're 4-4 now. Same with the Steelers in that division. That might be enough. So they're still kind of in it, and so that doesn't mean they're going to start playing rookies all over the place. So I think you're going to still see a split there.
Yep, it's amazing. Sal has been talking about how the Ravens are frauds and how they are as good as if their 3-0 record indicated, but as long as they keep winning these games, winning these division games, they are going to stay right there. So it should be interesting to see how they look going forward.
We will see there. Other notes of for this one, Steve Smith did play, caught 4 balls, 47 yards, but that's about it. Perryman gets 3 catches for 33. My boy Dennis Pitta had a bad day. I thought this was going to be a good one for him. He only caught 2 balls for 14 yards. So not a whole lot of goodness in this one. What are you doing? We talked about it, Coates, a little bit. He's 0 for 5. But what are you doing with him? I mean, you got to still roll him out there, right? Especially with Hayward Bay going down. Eli Rogers is definitely a slot guy. I mean, do you still play him, or is he
I think he's definitely matchup dependent, and he's the definition of a boomer bust. He's not somebody that you can rely on every week. Obviously, this isn't the first goose egg that he's put up, so I don't think he's someone that you have to roll out there every week. We'll have to see what happens with Victor Cruz, but Sterling Shepard is somebody that we're going to talk about later, and he's somebody that might be someone that you might find that might end up being someone with a higher floor, someone you can rely on a little bit more than Sammy Coates these days.
Yeah, I unfortunately will have to continue rolling him out there because I have him in Falafel, and in a 16-team league, that's pretty much as good as it gets. So hopefully they stick him on his gloves or something, and he can start making some catches because he has the worst hands I've ever seen. But from one team that disappointed in the Steelers to one team that absolutely did not, the Dallas Cowboys put up 35 points against the Browns. Obviously, the Browns are now 0-9, and this is a matchup that the Cowboys should have had no trouble with. But there was a lot of fantasy relevance all across the board here. Dak Prescott starts it starts with him, 247, but he goes for 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Meanwhile, running the ball, Ezekiel Elliott is just flat out good at football. He gets 18 rushes for 92 yards, 2 touchdowns on the ground. He chips in 1 catch for 5 yards as well on 1 target. So not his biggest yardage total, but he gets you the 2 scores. Is this guy tops in the running back category going forward, or is he at least in the conversation with David Johnson and Lev Bell?
I absolutely think so. I hate that I missed out on him in so many leagues. When we did the podcast preseason, we all talked about how we weren't ready to spend a first-round pick on him. We want to see it first. We believed in the talent, but we just thought that, it wasn't going to be so cut and dry. Alfred Morris was there. He was going to get some carries, and Zeke Elliott has just absolutely lived up to all the hype. So you have to put him in that conversation with David Johnson and Le'Veon Bell. I would take David Johnson above Zeke Elliott, but Le'Veon Bell and Zeke Elliott are getting pretty darn close. I would probably still lean Le'Veon Bell, but he's definitely up in that top 3. He's passed Todd Gurley because his situation is 1,000 times better than Gurley's situation in LA, and you can't deny the talent and the production that he's had so far. It's been really fun to watch, and I just, like I said, wish I had a little more stock in him all around my leagues.
I completely agree. They basically pulled him. Alfred Morris got 17 for 56 as well because Elliott was, there's no need to have him playing anymore. They were up If I could do the math correctly, they were up 35-10 after the third quarter. So it was pretty much that was it. Jason Witten, the big story for receiving on the Cowboys side. He gets 8 catches for 134 yards and a touchdown on 10 targets. Nice to see him come back and have a good game like that. He's been, he's a consistent player, but he hasn't really put up big numbers this year, but touchdowns in 2 straight. So is he a guy that you are rolling with if you were a former streamer and maybe happen to luck into him, or is he your guy, or is he matchup dependent? What are you doing with Witten?
I think that Witten has turned into a guy that you can depend on week to week, and you might not have to worry about it so much with this big bye week, the bye apocalypse ending, as you called it earlier. But he is somebody that has definitely earned some trust. Like you said, not the high yardage totals, but he's starting to score some touchdowns, which is really helpful. And even before he was scoring touchdowns, his lowest game was a 3.5. Other than that, most of his games have been over 5 points, over 6 points. So I think that he is somebody that you can rely on week to week in a deeper league, in a 12-team league, I'd say. But, I mean, there are other options out there. Definitely with the position like tight end, you're still playing matchups for the most part.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a streamer at tight end, no doubt, but I do have Witten in a couple of places, and I'm glad I do because, he's starting to turn it around. Like I said, he's fairly consistent as it is. So Dez Bryant, pretty much 1 catch, 19 yards. So for fantasy purposes, that's just as close to a goose egg as you can get. Are you worried there? He looked like he had a lot of targets last week, and then he comes back this week with only 4 targets. Obviously, they were up big, so they didn't need to throw a ton, towards the second half. But
yeah, I would lean more towards game flow in this one for him not doing so well. There were a few plays that showed him that he wasn't running his routes as hard as he could have, or Dak was kind of looking his way, and Dez wasn't going all out. So you'd want to keep an eye on that, as you don't like seeing when the receivers are giving up on the routes before the quarterback is trying to throw the ball their way. But I think Dez is a guy that you're going to keep rolling out there week to week because of the ceiling. He's got so much talent. He can change his entire fantasy day with just 1 catch. So he's a guy that you have to keep rolling out there. At least I feel I have to.
Yeah, such a big red zone threat. On the other side of the ball, not a whole lot to like. Kessler gets 203 and a touchdown. Not that anyone was starting him. Duke Johnson carries the ball 5 times for 30 yards. Crowell has a terrible day on the ground, 6 carries for 4 yards, but at least he does get 4 catches for 63 yards if you were playing him. Not a whole lot for the receivers either. It was nice to see Coleman come back. He did get 7 targets, but only caught 3 balls for 41 yards. Pryor gets the touchdown with 5 catches for 47 yards. So, I don't know. There's just nothing really to love in this offense. Barnage, 3 for 23. I mean, they're all just particularly with Kessler at quarterback. I actually think McCown makes most of these guys better. But I see why they want to play Kessler at this point.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the McCown would make the team better all around. I don't understand why they want. I personally don't understand why they'd want to keep Kessler in there. I think that at this point they'd want to try and win a few games, and
would
because
you,
even would I?
Yeah, wouldn't you just want the better draft pick and to develop the rookies at this point?
I wouldn't. I would want to win games. I think I would feel Hugh Jackson would want to win games. You'd see how fast that they turn over coaches in Cleveland. It's not like you have the safest job there. Even if it's your first year, they've been known to get rid of you. So I would be trying to win games. I'd want to put in the players that would give me the best chance to win the games. They're only halfway through the season. He said if the team that's leading the division only has already has 4 losses. So just I don't get the tanking. I don't understand tanking. I mean, I do.
I mean, I'm not a big fan
but
of tanking. I just at this point, why wouldn't you go with the rookie quarterback to see how he does? I mean, you're 0-9. I don't think they're going to fire Hugh Jackson, and I think that wouldn't you want to be the guy that goes from 0-16 to playoffs? Wouldn't you want to be that guy?
Well, yeah, of course you'd want to be that guy, but he's not going to be that guy.
No,
he's not going to go from 0-16 to the playoffs, so that's not going to happen.
No.
So, I mean, it's for me, like I said, I understand tanking, but I don't agree. Like, I wouldn't want to be on a team where like I felt like that's what they were doing. So
I don't think. Don't get me wrong. I don't think they're tanking. I just think if you're gonna suffer through a season like this, you might as well at least see what Kessler's got. Is my point.
Yeah, well, he ain't got much.
All right, and with that, we will move along here because like I said, there's really not a whole lot on the Brown side to love. A couple of teams that really did nothing for anyone, the Jaguars and the Chiefs. With this game, it again reminds me, look, I know he had a great fantasy day last week, but Blake Bortles is just a bad quarterback.
So bad.
He's just not good at all. And
terrible.
He will continue to get garbage time touchdowns and garbage time points for fantasy and be serviceable, particularly if you're a team like our buddy Ryan in Falafel, who has him as his quarterback, but has 3 stud running backs. So he could really start anyone at quarterback. It really wouldn't matter. And he gets just enough junk points for him to be serviceable. He gets in this one, he gets 252 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, overthrows about 18 different receivers. And but Allen Robinson finally got into the act. He got 7 catches, 76 yards. He had 11 targets. Like I said, the 4 that he missed were probably about 15 yards above his head. So he does catch a touchdown in this one. So it looks a little bit better. But Allen Robinson's such a talented receiver. And when you see him just missing passes from Blake Bortles, it just makes me so mad. I hate watching them play.
Yeah, it's rough. Like you said, it's rough watching him play. You see him and you see him overthrowing Allen Robinson, and it's just sad. It makes you sad.
It's sad. It is. It's sad.
And it makes the whole offense sad. Although it was encouraging to see the run game get going a little bit.
The Tusk.
Yes, the Tusk. He had 18 carries for over 90 rushing yards. He did have a fumble trying to get into the end zone, although replay looked like he got into the end zone. I think that was a touchdown. Yeah. So, that was encouraging. TJ Yeldon did get into the end zone, although I believe he only had around 60 total yards. He did find the end zone, so that was good to see. Maybe with the change at offensive coordinator, there will be a little bit of resurrection in that run game, and you might be able to depend on that a little bit more going forward.
I actually dropped TJ Yeldon today in a league. It's a 12-team league, so there's some decent players out on free agents, and I grabbed CJ Prosise. Prosise obviously plays tomorrow with Seattle, but Yeldon to me is he's such a nothing player from a fantasy perspective because you can't trust him. You never know what he's going to get. And he gets the touchdown. Like you said, he gets over 60 yards. He has 5 catches, so particularly in PPR, he looks good. But he only got 7 carries. Ivory gets 18 this one. And you truly, to me, don't know who they're going to use or when they're going to use them. And I like the upside of Prosise as a pass-catching back in a offense that needs a pass-catching back right now.
Desperately. They also need a pass thrower right now, if you know of any of them.
Right. We will get to your struggles with Russell Wilson at some point next week after that game has been played. But for now, one other guy that I wanted to ask you about, Marquise Lee, is just oddly relevant in fantasy right now. For some reason, he's the one guy that Bortles can hit. I don't know. I don't know why, but he can. I think I forget what he did last week. I don't think he had much of a game, but he's strung together a few games that have been pretty serviceable. 4 for 84 in this one. Is he a guy that you're kind of using as a stash, maybe a flex dart throw if you're stuck?
I think why Bortles has been able to target him so much is he's really fast. So as bad as Bortles is, he's might been able to catch up with the terribleness of the targets.
He's not able to overthrow him no matter how hard he tries.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, all right.
So, no, I know this is a guy that Sal has talked about quite a few times, and although he has been able to string these games together, I don't trust many people on this Jaguars offense because of how Blake Bortles is. So you could stash him if you have an extra bench spot, but I find it really hard to find a spot where I'd feel comfortable putting him in my lineup, especially with all these bye weeks ending. I think there's just going to be better options, but I would wait and see what happened with Allen Hurns, who did leave the game with a concussion today. If he were to miss time going forward, definitely would bump up his value a little bit.
All right, and on the other side of the ball, I couldn't tell who was out there. I couldn't tell if it was Nick Foles or Alex Smith because the stat line of 20 of 33 for 187 yards and a touchdown looks eerily similar. I mean,
Yeah.
the only difference is usually with Alex Smith, you get a few running yards. Nick Foles is not Alex Smith in that regard. He had 3 carries for -3 yards, and he is very slow and not athletic. But yeah, the quarterback situation. I think we told people. We got a lot of questions in the Fantasy Life app this week about Nick Foles because it was a decent matchup, and I think people were worried. Were also worried about Jeremy Maclin. Obviously if he was going to play. And then, the running backs and how it would affect them. And basically what my advice was that it won't change at all. I don't think it makes them better. I don't think it makes them worse. I think Nick Foles is just as bad as Alex Smith.
Yep, I don't argue with that at all. I think they're very similar, and by that stat line that you just read, it appears that Nick Foles has learned everything that Alex Smith could have possibly taught him, and looked pretty much just like him. Seemed like he was a little more willing to take some shots down the field, which you'd think might actually improve the value of these wide receivers. So I think going forward, you treat all these guys exactly the same, just as if Alex Smith were in there, which we'd expect him to be back, since he missed this game with a non-concussion, evidently. And yeah, so I don't think you change that at all. I think you pay attention to Jeremy Maclin, who left this game early after aggravating that groin injury. And then you keep an eye on Travis Kelce, who was ejected from this game for, I think he threw his towel at one of the refs. So that was,
it's always a smart move.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. So let's start Kendrick West. Disappointing day.
Yeah.
After everyone talked about how much he was going to blow up.
Yeah, remember when there was some actual debate over Charkandrick West and Spencer Ware?
Yes, I do.
There's a reason Spencer Ware won. Because
Absolutely.
Charkandrick West is not very good. 13 for 39 yards. He had a long of 14 yards. So that means he really went 12 for 25.
Yeah, I can't say that he's not good. I mean, because those games that he had last year, those did happen. Those 3 games that he scored 4 touchdowns, had over 120 yards, those games did happen. But I have to agree, I was let down by his performance. I had him in a ton of lineups today and some DraftKings lineups. So I was disappointed with what he did today. But I'll still roll him out there next week if he's the starting running back. I haven't given up my faith on him completely.
Also, remember when Tyreek Hill was a thing? That was fun, right?
Yeah, that was fun.
It lasted 1 week. No, I mean, only 3 catches for 11 yards in this one, but he's still a guy that you want to keep an eye on. I'm obviously kidding a little bit here, but it was a little bit interesting to me how much people blew him up this week, and people were using number 1 waiver claims on him, and yada yada yada. I mean, come on, it's still a Kansas City offense, and there's still Alex Smith and Nick Foles at quarterback. So let's just temper expectations when we talk about their receivers.
Yep. Agreed there.
All right. Unless you have anything else, we're going to continue along here, and we will get to the Jets and the Dolphins. I'm a little impartial here because, or not impartial, partial? I forget which one it is, because I'm a Pats fan, obviously, but both of these teams are not good. These are not good. These are not good football teams. Jay Ajayi looks like he's still pretty good. 24 carries, 111 yards, and 1 touchdown. It's amazing to me that it took them that long to go with just Ajayi and just let him crush it. I know he looked bad in the preseason. I remember having conversations with you about how bad he looked in the preseason and even in the early parts of the season. So, I mean, I guess I get it a little bit, but man, they should have been feeding him the rock a long time ago, huh?
Yeah, I mean, what he's looked like these last 3 games in particular has just been great. He's looked like a great running back. He's getting his shoulder pads down. He's running hard through holes. He's coming out of holes and, springing into the open field. He seems really quick. And he's put together a few games that, like you said, makes you wonder why they were messing around with Arian Foster at the beginning of the season, why they wouldn't just commit to this guy and let him take control of it, because their offense has looked a lot better when it's been moving through him instead of trying to let Ryan Tannehill pass the ball and try and win games that way.
Yeah, so Tannehill goes 17 of 28 for 149 yards and 1 touchdown.
That's not great.
I'm an idiot because I actually thought he was going to have a good week. The Jets' passing defense is terrible, so I thought that he might actually throw the ball. But 149 yards and a touchdown. I don't look. I guess they won 27-23, so you don't have to let him throw. So
no, you don't.
I think it's smart to not do that. But unfortunately, that means he's killing every receiver, including Jarvis Landry, who gets 3 catches for 33 yards on 6 targets. This guy is so good. He is such a good receiver. He's not great. He's not as far as the outside threat. He's not going to make, the bigger plays. He's more of an inside guy, but he should have 10 catches a game. If you are on any kind of serviceable throwing offense, he should have 10 catches a game.
Yeah, and it's not happening. Even the catches that he does get are not great balls thrown to him. He's having to catch them with his fingertips, pulling them off the turf. And it's sad. It's really sad to see that he's not getting the type of volume that we're used to seeing him get in the last few years. And it, like you said, it's hurting everybody. Each one of the receivers is taking a hit. Landry is the only one you could even possibly think of starting every single week. And because you know that if the Dolphins defense lets them down, that they are going to have to throw in Jarvis Landry is who Ryan Tannehill looks to the most. So very unfortunate that, Ajayi's production has really meant a hit as goes to everybody else, but it is what it is. And as long as they're winning, that's what they're going to do.
Yep, that is what they are going to do. They will kill every receiver they have there. Let's see. On the Jets side of the ball, we got to see Bryce Petty. That was good. It was good.
Oh, don't you try to get around talking about Matt Forte and how good that he's looked for yet another week.
12 carries, 92 yards, and a touchdown. He looked pretty good. He also, he got 1 catch for 5 yards. So, look, he was under 100 yards.
Yes,
Total.
He was under 100 yards, but it has been a few weeks now since his lull in the middle of the season after getting so many catches. This is his 3rd week in a row with over 15 points. The last 2 weeks, he'd gone over 20 points. He's firmly nestled in the top 10 for running backs right now, and with another 16-plus point week, I think he's going to find himself there yet again. So he is looking very, very solid. Sal, I wish you were here to retort to that, but you are not.
He is not, but I think he would say something along the lines of, psh.
Shut up.
I think, shut up. He would tell you to shut up. That is what it was.
Shut up, idiot. You're dumb.
he would call you dumb. 4 touchdowns in the last 3 games, so he does look good. I started him DraftKings a lot of places, so I took your advice on that.
Oh, there you go.
The rest of the team for the Jets does not look very good. Pretty much
Fitzpatrick's fault.
All across the board. Yeah, Fitzpatrick throws for 193 yards, a touchdown, 2 interceptions, and they were pretty bad interceptions, as he likes to
Terrible.
do.
Case Keenum-esque.
Case
Keenum into the back of the end zone to the Dolphins.
Yeah.
That's what one of those were. It was absolutely terrible.
Is destroying the value of Brandon Marshall, who only gets 6 catches for 45 yards on 9 targets. And you can't blame him. It's not his fault.
No, you can't. It's all on Fitzpatrick, and he keeps defending Fitzpatrick and how much he likes him and how much he wants him to be quarterback. But man, it is really, really hurting him. Quincy Enunwa has a bad game after his big game last week. He only has 1 catch for 25 yards. Jalen Marshall catches a touchdown, so doesn't really help anybody there. It was just an ugly game, like you said. The teams did not look great in this one. It wasn't a very good game to watch.
Austin Seferian-Jenkins had a target.
A target, no catches.
Yeah, that's good, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's a step forward.
All right, let's continue on because I don't want to talk about those games. As great as it is for me to see how bad the rest of the AFC East is, for fantasy purposes, it just makes me sad. So we will talk about the Giants and the Eagles. This one started off sad for me as well because in a particular league with 2 quarterbacks, I had to start Carson Wentz. And he did not look good at all.
No.
Threw 2 interceptions in about 5 minutes in the game, and it looked like it was going to be a very long day for him. He does get to 364 yards, but doesn't throw a single touchdown. And his receivers are also not very good. Zach Ertz leads the way with 8 catches for 97 yards. I thought he was leaving the game for good when he left. He looked like he was in a lot of pain. but he did come back, so it looks like he'll be okay there. Jordan Matthews also has 6 catches for 88 yards, no touchdowns. No receiving touchdowns at all. How does that happen?
Carson Wentz.
Yeah.
That's how it happens. Throwing those interceptions. And Ryan Matthews. Ryan Matthews comes in. He has 5 carries this week, and one of them is a touchdown. So he is very, very efficient. He doesn't get any yards. He only scores touchdowns, but he seems to do it every single week.
Yeah, eventually that gravy train will stop, and someone like me who's been using him in the Scott Fish Bowl will be burned. Because 5 for 15 would look absolutely awful if he didn't get a touchdown.
Yeah, just brutal.
And Darren Sproles is clearly leading the way here. 13 carries, 57 yards. He was also gets 9 targets, only 3 catches, but 9 targets in the passing game. So Ryan Matthews did get 1 target and 1 reception for 0 yards.
Efficiency. I'm telling you.
Yeah. So Dorial Green-Beckham, the little darling from last week who had a decent game, comes back and has 5 targets, 0 catches. So
efficient.
That was fun. On the other side of the ball, Eli Manning has a pretty damn good day. He throws for 257 with 4 touchdowns. He does throw 2 picks, but I don't think you're worried too much about the 2 picks when you throw for 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, absolutely. You get Odell Beckham. He catches 2 of them. He only has 46 yards on the day, but when you get 2 touchdowns to go along with that, I think that makes that a great day.
So I'd like you to tell me that I was right, though, because I did tell you now. I mean, while he did score 2 touchdowns, but he didn't have a good day, at least.
He didn't have a high yardage day, but he did have a good day. I was happy to have not listened to you when you made that suggestion.
I was 2 touchdowns away from being very right.
That's right. You were 2 catches away from being extremely right about that one.
That's it.
You take those 2 catches away, you nailed it.
Yeah, so, he would have had like 2 catches for about 10 yards. So
yeah, exactly. So.
All right. Anyway, moving on. Go ahead.
Sterling
Talk
Shepard.
Talk about your boy.
I will. It's just when everybody has given up on him, when even I myself had dropped him in a league or 2 because I have felt there were some better options. He comes back, has 50 yards receiving, and scores a touchdown. Victor Cruz left this game with an ankle injury, so you keep an eye on that. If this is going to be something affecting him going forward, I think Sterling Shepard is somebody you definitely want to add and could be a viable starting option or flex option going forward for the rest of the season there.
Yeah, I mean, it is interesting. Probably didn't talk about it enough because Victor Cruz wasn't really doing a ton, but Shepard's decline really came as Victor Cruz started to get more comfortable on his feet. So with him, if he does go out, I think Shepard will slide kind of into that role again, and we'll see more volume. So that could help. Interesting for me on the rushing side of the ball, Paul Perkins and Rashad Jennings had the same amount of carries. Both had 11 carries. Perkins gets 32 yards. Jennings only gets 26. So it's interesting to note there. Actually, they both had 3 catches too. So a very even split for them. I think Perkins is the guy that should be getting more work, but the Giants at 5-3 are probably not going to, just hand everything over to him yet.
Yep, I would agree. I was just going to say that if you have an extra bench spot and both of these guys are available, I'd be adding Paul Perkins. I think that he ends up starting the games heading in towards the end of the season. I think he does take over that role. I just think he's got more dynamic aspect to his game. He can play both sides of it, pass, catch out of the backfield. So he would be the one that I'd be adding as the speculative stash going forward.
So what are you doing with the Philadelphia Eagles, the guys that you have there? I mean, we talked about the receivers not really doing much, no touchdowns, but they had some decent yardage. What are you doing from a fantasy perspective? Are you kind of dialing back your expectations for Jordan Matthews or Zach Ertz? I mean, Ertz finally had a decent day here, so I guess maybe not him. Aguilar's not even on the radar. And Dorial Green-Beckham was a big pickup, I guess, for some people, but he's probably droppable as well.
Yeah, I think that Jordan Matthews is the only guy you can even consider starting week to week, and he's a wide receiver too. And he didn't get into the end zone today, but he did have some pretty solid yardage, and I think that will continue going forward. So I think he still has some value. it'll be interesting to see Zach Ertz. I think this week he was another guy that a lot of people had finally given up on. So him having a big yardage day, people might start to get back up on him. I was never a huge fan of him coming into the season, so I would still leave him be and not worry about this game with him. The running backs they're too much for me. I got no interest in them right now. They don't seem to be utilizing them properly. They're not really having the production that I think that they should. So I would be going with Jordan Matthews right now, and that would probably be about it.
Completely agree with you. Makes me sad because Ryan Matthews was a guy that I was really high on coming into the season, and he is just not good at football. So, all right, the Lions and by the way, in case I didn't give the score, the Giants do win that game 28-23. So the Lions defeated the Vikings. That was an interesting game to watch from an actual NFL standpoint. Game goes to overtime after a Matt Prater 58-yard field goal, and then Detroit marches down the field and scores a touchdown. Did you see the touchdown, Golden Tate?
I did.
Scored
it was
at the end of the game. Yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome, but did it strike you as odd the way he decided to go into the end zone?
I feel like I've seen him do something like that before, and yeah, I mean, it's not very safe, not very smart.
It's not safe or
things
smart.
That could happen. I mean, the ball could easily be popped out of your hands while you're trying to do your little flip-de-doo into the end zone, but it all worked out fine, and now it just looked cool. It was a sweet play for him to break those tackles, stay in bounds, and then to run down and flip into the end zone. I thought it was really cool.
Yeah, absolutely was a good play. I mean, it pretty much salvaged Golden Tate's day. Gives him 11 for 79 and a touchdown. So he was having a pretty pedestrian day. Otherwise, as was Matt Stafford with 219. He finishes with the 2 touchdowns because of that one. Theo Riddick had a pretty good day, although he didn't get in the end zone. 14 rushes for 70 yards. He's clearly the lead back. He also chips in 1 catch for 6 yards. So he wasn't as involved in the passing game, but the passing game didn't really do a lot in this one. Vikings are still a pretty good defense, even though they lose this game. Marvin Jones is not good anymore.
Yeah, I think it's weird. Every time they hike the ball, it seems like he turns into Shoeless Joe Jackson, and he runs into the cornfield and just absolutely vanishes. Because 1 catch today for 5 yards, absolutely terrible. I don't know what's going on there. It does not seem like he is getting the looks that he was. The offense is definitely shifted towards Golden Tate. He is the no doubt wide receiver 1 there now. And I know it was a tough matchup. You saw Xavier Rhodes on Marvin Jones very often in this game. So I won't put too much stock into this one. I'll give it another week. They have the bye week in week 10, I believe. So week 11, you'll definitely be looking and seeing how they're using him, but definitely worried about his utilization and his production the last few weeks because it has been pretty rough.
Yeah, 5 targets to Tate's 12, so definitely not what you want there, especially when you only catch 1 of those 5 targets. Anquan Boldin chips in a touchdown, but only has 2 catches on 4 targets for 10 yards. So are you using Anquan Boldin anywhere?
Not on a weekly basis. I've got him on my falafel team, and he's been pretty serviceable. I did not use him this week. I used Marvin Jones instead, and that did not end up being the right call. But he seems to be a very usable piece. He seems to be a little touchdown dependent. His yardage isn't always there. So I think he's a very desperate move. I don't usually like starting the 3rd wide receiver on any team, but if you have to, I think you could do a lot worse than Anquan Boldin. He's proven to be, at the worst, a red zone target for Matthew Stafford.
Yeah, I completely agree there. So the Lions coming up schedule it actually isn't that bad. They have to play the Vikings again in week 12, which you don't like, but they do play Jacksonville and New Orleans to bookend that for 11 and 13. So not bad matchups there if you do want to hang on and see what happens with Marvin Jones. And obviously I think Tate's going to be a guy you're going to look to start just about every week at this point with that volume of targets. Ebron looked pretty good in this with a 7 for 92. On the Minnesota side of the ball here, Bradford has an okay day, I guess, 273 and a touchdown. Ronnie Hillman was interesting to me because he carried the ball almost as much as any of the other running backs. McKinnon gets 7 carries. Asiata gets 9 carries, and Hillman gets 7 carries. But Hillman was the most productive. He was also involved in the passing game. He gets the 1 catch for 32 yards, though. So overall, he had the best day with over 60 yards total. And interesting to me because I think they're going to use all 3 of these running backs. I don't think you're going to have clear guidance on who to use from this backfield. So personally, I'm avoiding it at all costs.
Yep, I'd agree. It's like the election coming up. You've got these 3 options, and I don't want any one of them. So I'm just going to stay away from all of that.
If there was a third option in this election, I think I would go for it no matter who it was.
Yeah, probably be right.
So maybe Hillman's the choice.
That's right.
Not for president, but for this backfield.
Hell, maybe even for president.
Maybe even for president. Hillman for president.
That's right. Diggs, interesting is his day. He caught 13 balls, but only for 80 yards. So he was fed, but he just not very far down the field.
Great day in PPR.
Yeah. So a lot of good PPR day for him. But again, him and Rudolph are really the only guys you're relying in the passing game for Minnesota. Just not a very sexy offense, not one that I'm looking to gain a lot of stock in going forward. It's not one I can trust every week.
Yeah, completely agree. This is just kind of a messy offense. I thought Rudolph was going to have a great day. At least he gets you the touchdown, but he only has 1 catch for 1 yard. So not good. We will
efficient though.
Very efficient. You're all about the efficiency tonight.
Hey, touchdowns and tight ends. That's where they make their money.
That is very true. We will continue on with the Panthers and the Rams. The Panthers win this game 13-10. This is another surprise for me because there was barely any offense to speak of here, so we should be able to get through this game pretty quickly. Newton throws 225 and a touchdown. Jonathan Stewart rushes 15 for 42 yards and a touchdown. Is not involved in the passing game at all. And then Newton also rushes 7 times for 16 yards. So nothing much going on the ground, nothing much going in the air. Kelvin Benjamin gets 5 catches for 76 yards, no touchdowns. Olsen gets at least the score, but he only has 5 catches for 52 yards, which is kind of low for him. Him being one of the few tight ends that I think you do depend on for some yards. And that was pretty much it on their side of the ball. For the Rams, kind of same old as they always are. Case Keenum throws 296 with 1 touchdown. He only had 1 pick this time, though, so that's
solid.
That's something.
Improvement.
Your new acquisition this week, Todd Gurley, gets 12 carries for 48 yards. Would have liked to see him a little more involved in the passing game. 4 catches for 26 yards. At least he's getting the 5 targets. I mean, that's what you want to see for him. Maybe a little more, but at least something. But again, just not a lot of yardage, man.
Yeah, not a lot of yardage, and I'll be interested to see if something might have happened to him. Being in the afternoon games, there weren't a ton of other games on, and so this game was on quite a bit, on Red Zone at least. And I didn't see him on the field for the last few drives. It was a lot of Benny Cunningham, so I don't know if they were just taking him out of the game. They'd kind of given up at this point. They were down 13-3, but he wasn't on the field for a lot of those final drives, so I'll be interested to see if something happened. Yeah, just a kind of lackluster game. We thought that might happen with how the Panthers have looked against the run the last few weeks. We saw them just bottle up David Johnson last week. So hopefully better days ahead for Todd Gurley, although time is running out. Not too many weeks left in the season for him to really turn things around. But, he's got the talent in there, so you just hope that it comes out at some point.
Yeah, I think I said it last week too. I'm just not impressed right now. It's not going well for him. It's not getting better. The yards per carry, 4 yards per carry, so a little better than he actually has been all season, which is good. I guess it's trending upward, but this offense just is not making him look good. And overall, I think that's about it for this game because there really wasn't much else to talk about.
Yep, Kenny Britt caught a garbage time touchdown with less than a minute left. Other than that, just nothing. There's a lot of defense in this game. There are only 23 points total, so not a lot of offense. It wasn't a very fun one to watch.
Nope. There was a lot of offense in the New Orleans Saints San Francisco 49ers game. Saints win this one 41-23, and Drew Brees continues to pump out the stats. He is phenomenal. 323 and 3 touchdowns yet again. Mark Ingram showed that he should be the number one back, although he did lose a lot of carries to Hightower. He carries the ball 15 times for 158 yards and a score. And he also catches two receptions for 13 yards and a score. Meanwhile, Tim Hightower has 23 carries for 87 yards and a touchdown, and he gets a catch for 15 yards as well. I'm not sure why they used Hightower at all in this.
Yeah, I think it was just because they could.
Yeah.
We talked about it last week that this game had set up huge for Mark Ingram to come back and have a very, very good game, which is what he did. But we'd also talked about how terrible the San Francisco run defense was, so that there was probably going to be enough production there for both of them to have good afternoons, and that is exactly what happened. So I'm not surprised that he got some work. He did look really good against Seattle. So when they said that he earned some time, I guess they weren't just blowing smoke up our butts for that. And it was nice to see Ingram come back and have the huge day that we thought he would this week. That San Francisco run defense is no joke. They are legit crappy.
Yeah, they are pretty terrible. The Saints go to 4-4, so they are technically still in that division. Obviously, the Falcons are leading the division with 6 wins, so only 2 games behind right now. So that's, they're still in it, so that they're still fighting away. But what are you doing with Ingram going forward, I guess, is my question, because are you concerned that Hightower is going to... I mean, Hightower had a productive day as well. Obviously not as productive as Ingram, but are you concerned that, when they're not playing a porous or defense like the San Francisco 49ers, who are they going to give the ball to?
Yeah, I think you still have to have the faith in Mark Ingram. I think he's still the more talented running back. I think most people would agree with that. As long as he's still getting 15 to 17 carries, I think that he's still going to be able to be productive with that. I don't think he's going to get the 20 carries or the 22 every week that we were expecting from him when the season started. But I think he's still going to be that guy that gets around 15 to 17 and can, turn those into points for you. So I'm going to continue to roll him out as maybe a low-end RB1, RB2, depending on the matchup each week.
Yeah, and I don't typically do recommendations like this, particularly for when it comes to quarterbacks. But if you are a team that is, has a marginal quarterback or has been, streaming quarterbacks along the way, and you are headed for the playoffs, if you can somehow trade for Drew Brees right now, I would highly suggest doing it, because if you look at his playoff schedule with Tampa Bay, Arizona, and Tampa Bay in 14, 15, and 16, those 2 matchups against Tampa Bay are just so choice.
Yeah.
I mean, I could see him putting up lots and lots of points there. And if you're a team, like I said, where you might have some assets and you've been streaming quarterback, that's just a guy that I would, with trade deadlines coming up, I might target him.
And he's shown in the last few weeks that he is able to put up some points on the road. He went into Arrowhead and put up a serviceable day, and he just put up a pretty nice day in San Francisco. So that's always nice to see that doesn't seem to be so home dependent for his fantasy output this year.
Absolutely. And if, to further that point, if you have the opportunity to trade for any of his wide receivers, it's not a bad idea. Michael Thomas gets 5 for 73 with 2 touchdowns. Cooks has a lower than usual day for him, 5 for 66, no touchdowns. And Snead didn't have a great day either, 3 for 36, but he spread the ball around, used his running backs a lot. On the San Francisco side of the ball, Colin Kaepernick throws for 398 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception, which was more yardage than he had thrown the entire season so far in one game.
Yeah, the Saints aren't good at defending the pass, and Colin Kaepernick typically is not good at throwing the football. So I guess neither one of those surprised me.
Yeah, and we can talk about some of these receivers here. Quentin Patton gets 106 yards. Vance McDonald gets 84 yards and a score. Dwan Harris, the running back, gets 5 for 83 and a touchdown. Selleck was involved, but we don't really need to spend much time on him, in my opinion, because this will never happen again.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think this is definitely a product of the defense that they were playing, and you can't really expect this type of output from them every single week. I was very happy with Dwan Harris and how he played, filling in for Carlos Hyde. He gained 142 total yards on 15 touches. Had that very nice catch, like you said, the touchdown catch where he takes it up the sideline, shows off his speed when he took it to the house there. So that was a pretty nice play. I was happy to see him and hope that even if Carlos Hyde comes back next week, that DeJuan Harris is able to get some more touches going forward.
It could have single-handedly saved your falafel season, so we'll see.
We will see what happens.
We'll see what happens there. The Tennessee Titans lose to the San Diego Chargers, 35-43. Lots of points in this one. Obviously, lots of fantasy goodness in this one. Marcus Mariota has a good day with 313, 3 touchdowns. He does throw 2 picks, but it doesn't really hurt you that much. He also ran for a touchdown, so that helps. DeMarco Murray, tough day on the ground for him, 14 for 51, but at least he gets a score, and he gets 7 catches for 29 yards, so in PPR he had a pretty good day. Derrick Henry leaves this game or doesn't even suit up for this game. Actually, he suited up. He just, left early. I don't know.
No, he strained. What I hear is that he strained his calf in pregame warmups and was shut down before the game started.
Fair enough. So he was active, did not play, and definitely hurt anyone who was starting him after a couple of good games. On the receiving side of the ball for the Titans, you have Kendall Wright with 2 catches for 64 yards. Rashard Matthews gets 6 catches for 63 yards, but he gets the 2 scores, so he's the big winner there. And Delaney Walker, 5 for 42, and he gets in the end zone, which is kind of what you expect out of Delaney Walker. On the San Diego side of the ball, lots more fantasy goodness. In particular, Melvin Gordon, 32 rushes, 196 yards and a touchdown. He also chips in 4 catches for 65 yards, so well over 200 yards, 250 yards actually for that matter in this one for Melvin Gordon. He looks good right now.
Yeah, he looks great. And, I keep seeing these people that keep saying that how he doesn't look good. He doesn't look good. Look at his yards per carry, blah, 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 blah. Like, look how many yards he's putting up. And if you can watch the game tape from the game today and say that he does not look good, that he does not look like a solid running back, then I don't know what you're looking at, because he looked absolutely fabulous. The tape today is just, he was doing everything. He looks fast. He can get through the hole. He makes people miss, which is one of the most important things for a running back, especially when you have a bad offensive line. There are people in the backfield all the time trying to get him, and he's usually making that first or second guy miss. So he has been great. He's been great. He's been everything that you think that we wanted him to be after Danny Woodhead went down. And, people were worried if he could handle the workload of RB1. He has just been all that and more. And you know that if Sal were here, he would be gloating and talking about how much he loves Melvin Gordon right now.
Absolutely. Gordon definitely looks good. And I think the thing is with the yards per carry and all that you mentioned, there are games where he does not have a great yards per carry. I think this offensive line is not very good. I think they don't open up holes, and he's still, because of the volume, he kind of saves you. But when they do actually have decent days, like today, where they open things up for him, you can see he's explosive. He's, he makes good cuts. He makes people miss. When he actually has a lane to run through, he's a good running back, and this shows you exactly why. Also in this game, no Hunter Henry, so Antonio Gates gets the majority of the work here. 5 catches for 75 yards. He gets in the end zone. Tyrell Williams is the wide receiver that you wanted in this one. He gets in the end zone with 65 yards as well. Travis Benjamin, who came into this game dinged up, only gets 1 catch for 5 yards. And Dontrell Inman, 6 for 56. But this particular game shows me exactly what I keep saying about the San Diego wide receivers, is you just don't know which one is gonna be.
Yeah, they keep spreading it around, and Travis Benjamin, he did end up leaving the game in the second half with that knee injury, and he did not return. So that was part of the reason why he only had that 1 catch. But yeah, absolutely. There are a lot of options on that San Diego offense, and Philip Rivers is a veteran quarterback. He doesn't necessarily hone in on one guy. He spreads the ball around. So it is really hard to pinpoint which guy it's going to be every week. Like you said, this week it was Tyrell Williams. Who knows who it could be this week? It's just you got to kind of pick and choose your spots of where you're going to throw these guys in your lineup. But one guy I think you can rely on is Antonio Gates. He seems to be the guy they looks at the most in the red zone, and so I think you can feel comfortable rolling him out week to week for sure.
Agreed there. We will move along unless you have anything else. Indianapolis Colts have played.
Well, you just asked if I had anything else, and then you didn't even give me any time to say anything.
Yeah, I didn't really care if you did.
I want to say Marcus Mariota. You might be one of the only people that can score 25 fantasy points and then also throw 2 pick sixes to the defense that is going against me in falafel. So screw you, sir.
Yeah.
Screw you. I still don't like you. All right, you may proceed.
All right, I apologize. I did not give you your chance to hate on Marcus Mariota.
It's all right.
The Indianapolis Colts beat the Green Bay Packers 31-26. Somewhere Brandon is crying. Let's see. Andrew Luck had a decent day too, but it looked like it was going to be a very bad day at one point because he was negative points for a decent amount of time. He had thrown 2 picks. But he does turn around and throws 281 and a touchdown. So not his best day, but at least it was something. He also rushed 7 times for 15 yards. Frank Gore, what can you say about Frank Gore except he just keeps plugging away. 19 carries, only 60 yards, but he does get 2 touchdowns. So my guess is he will finish somewhere in the wide receiver or running back 2 range again.
Yep. Old Faithful.
Old Faithful. The Indianapolis wide receivers, T.Y. Hilton gets the majority of the work here, I guess, with 8 targets, 6 catches, 82 yards. Jack Doyle actually did out-target him, which is interesting considering Dwayne Allen played in this one, but he gets 5 catches for 61 yards. Moncrief back again for his second game. He scores another touchdown, 3 catches, 55 yards on 6 targets. Would have liked to see him get a little bit more yardage. Luck did miss him a couple of times on some, so hopefully they'll straighten that out and he'll start to be a little bit more productive, but at least you're getting the touchdowns out of him.
Yeah, every single week he started and finished a game this year. He scored a touchdown. We talked about a lot about the chemistry they had last year, so this is just what he does. He's like the Eric Decker of the Colts. He just scores touchdowns week after week. I totally agree. You wish he would get some more play, between the 20s, so you can get some more yardage to go along with those touchdowns. But beggars can't be choosers. I'll take the touchdowns as long as they're being handed out to him.
Absolutely. Aaron Rodgers on the other side of the ball throws for 297 with 3 touchdowns and 1 interception. He looked pretty good in this game, in my opinion. The Green Bay rushing attack, which is basically Ty Montgomery and Aaron Rodgers at this point. Montgomery has 7 carries for 53 yards, so pretty decent on the ground for a guy that's a former wide receiver. Aaron Rodgers gets 6 carries for 43 yards. It's funny how he's just always going to be in the mix as far as the running backs now.
Yeah, he's a threat with his legs, and because they don't have a real running back or a real or legit running game, he uses his legs when he has to. He drops back. He gets the defense worried, covering the guys, running deep, and he sees an opportunity to take off. He's going to use it, and he's smart. He gets down, doesn't take big hits, and it's just a weapon that he utilizes, and it helps the fantasy numbers, that's for sure. So it's always nice to see when your quarterback isn't afraid to take off like that.
My boy Ripkowski should be getting more work, but he's not. Still only 2 carries for 4 yards. On the receiver,
free Ripkowski,
free Ripkowski indeed. Jordy Nelson has a good day, 7 catches, 94 yards and a touchdown. Devontae Adams also gets in the end zone with 41 yards. Richard Rodgers catches 6 passes on 10 targets. That's impressive for me. I guess if you're looking for streaming tight end, he's a guy you want to start considering. And let's see, Ty Montgomery also gets 3 catches for 38 yards. So his overall day not bad because of the combination of the 2. That's about it. Randall Cobb did not see a lot of action in this game. It looked like he was going to be out, and then he was a surprise active. He did get a touchdown, but only 2 catches on 2 targets for 14 yards. So you're lucky with the touchdown.
Yeah, it seemed like there was a lot of bailing out of late touchdowns, late points, and a lot of these afternoon games. The Packers offense it still does not look right. I thought it started to look a little better with oddly enough, when they had Montgomery back in as running back that Thursday night game against Chicago. But it's things have changed, and it's not the way that I remember it. It's not the way that we remember this offense when Jordy Nelson and Randall Cobb and all these guys, it's the same guys, but it's just the offense is not running like it used to, and they're not able to win games and keep up with other offenses like they have. This should have been a defense that the old Packers would have had no problem tearing apart and scoring 31 points to keep up with them. So it's just, I mean, obviously they're still putting up points for fantasy numbers, but it's something to keep an eye on going forward because it's just not the way it used to be.
Absolutely, I agree with you on that. And that about does it for all of the games that have happened so far today. Steve's Broncos are currently losing 20-10 to the Raiders, and they look terrible in that.
Not a great game so far there.
So he will be hoping that they pick it up. Personally, I'm hoping both teams find a way to lose, but I don't think that can happen. So
a tie.
Until they could tie, that would be even better. Until that time, though, we will be back. Steve and I will be back anyway. We'll be back to you. We will, on Tuesday night for us, which will be Wednesday morning for you. For most of you anyway, unless do we have people that download right away? We must, right? Anyone? Do you think anyone's getting up and listening at 1 a.m?
I know a few people are setting their alarms just to listen to the podcast for sure.
That's nice.
Sure.
Well, hopefully we will get this over to them quickly then, since we are a little earlier tonight. And Steve, why don't you wrap up with some finishing thoughts?
All right, everybody. Thank you for sticking around for this recap show. If you would like to find us on Twitter, you can do that at Falafel House. You can like our page on Facebook, and you can find us on Instagram. Just search for Falafel House on both of those. If you'd like to check out our website, you can find this podcast. You can find all kinds of DFS articles, start and sit. You can find our ranks, all kinds of daily fantasy goodness there at falafelhouse.com. And I think that's just about it for me, since I can't throw it to Sal tonight. Kev, what do you got?
I would just like to say that, hey, Sal, no matter what Steve tells you, I am glad you're not here. Thank you for listening for tonight. For the rest of you, we do love reviews, so if you could head on over to iTunes or wherever you get your podcast and leave us a review, we would definitely appreciate that. I need more people to counteract the cheesy review that was left, because I still do not appreciate that. And as I mentioned, we will be back on Tuesday for us, Wednesday for you. So until then, Steve, hit the button.